All right, all right, all right. What if? Okay, third time's the charm. I'll just bring the microphone right over here. Last week it felt like it was a little bit hot, so I'll try to keep my voice at a level. You know what I mean? This week. And as I get settled in, here comes a fucking hot flash, which I guess is appropriate because that's the subject for this week's episode. Welcome back to Ask Me How I Know. Ask Me How I Know is a podcast where you join me and I let you know exactly how I know that healing is possible, magic is real, and love is the answer. And this week, I am really needing to lean into mine own understanding of the possibility of healing, the reality of magic, and the solvency of love for myself specifically, because in the words of Effie White, I am changing. I am and have been going through the change. I am a woman of a certain age at 43 years old. I have found myself medically thrust into the throes of perimenopause, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it because I need to talk about it. And that's what we're going to do here today. And I'm saying that I'm leaning into my love for myself because I want to hold this conversation with so much grace and compassion. I had a really beautiful and special experience this morning, being able to be informed and given some really juicy information on menopause, the menopause and postmenopausal realities from a certified practitioner at my gym this morning, and got to sit in a room with about 30 women of varying ages and all different, stages of their journeys with menopause, and learn a lot. And I'm grateful for that experience because it has not been often that there's been an invitation to have discussions about the change in my life. And while conversations have started to pick up on social media, you can catch tidbits of it. There is a little bit of distance and access and privilege that feels like a sort of a divide when those conversations are being headed up by celebrities like Oprah and Halle Berry. And not to say that I can't see myself reflected in them as Black and women. There is obviously a huge class divide that really kind of, my access to treatments and therapies and things like that does not look the same as Hallie and Oprah. And also, like, menopause and the journey, the experience of menopause is as unique as each of our own fingerprints. So while there are some collective similarities in this experience, there's also this really personal relationship to self that has to be fleshed out in that change. And so I wanted to take the conversation from the class this morning and what, typically is in the group chat between me and my bestie, and bring it to the podcast to hopefully open up a conversation that can say, like, this generation as Gen Y or elder millennial, whatever they call us, we are among the loudest, and Gen Z are some of the loudest women who are speaking out about the realities of perimenopause and talking about it in open. But in my mother's generation and the women who raised me, my aunties and them, the boomers, they definitely use like kind of coded language to talk about menopause. They would say things like, she's flashing. She's going through the change. Literally, is her old ass still bleeding? She's still bleeding. She got breakthrough bleeding. And it's like they would say those things and they would be words that I would hear them say and never really actually be able to contextualize, other than you'll understand it when you get older. Stay out of grown folks' business. That's grown woman issues. You don't have to worry about that yet. You're not even old enough to have a baby yet. You don't, it was something that I felt like they were kind of preparing me for, but never really got around to circling the block, spinning the block. I'm still using that wrong a week later. One of the children will have to teach me. But they never really got back around to clarifying. And I'm starting to figure out now, in having conversations with my mom where we're comparing notes about my experience with perimenopause and her experience with now being postmenopausal, I realized that they didn't know either. And that's why they didn't have the answers, Sway. And so that's why they weren't proactively informing or teaching us. A lot of people don't know. I think in the medical field, the research is shoddy in a lot of places and definitely not as in depth. There is the least amount of research about postmenopausal women among any in the entire group of any of the stages. But it's not something that is well researched, and it's kind of, we'll talk more about my own experience, but it is something that I have noticed is generally dismissed by doctors and practitioners as not being that big of a deal, especially if you're talking to a primary and not an OBGYN. It can be seen as like complaining. You know what I mean? And like, well, what do you want me to do about it? This is just the facts of life. This is the reality of life. But the symptoms, that one of the statistics I read is that 80% of women over the age of 54 are in menopause. 80% of women. 55% of those women in menopause, according to this statistic, now do with it with you will, because like, context matters, but as much as 25% of them report their symptoms being debilitating symptoms. So we're going to talk a little about the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. I'm going to speak from my experience. I am not a doctor. I am not a coach. I am not a nutritionist. I am a 43-year-old Black lady who was thrust into perimenopause via a medical procedure, a hysterectomy that left me with one ovary. And my little struggle bus ovary is out here continuing to produce estrogen, which does not qualify me for hormone replacement therapy as treatment, in even in the most radical practice of doctors who do believe in hormone replacement therapy and do prescribe it and don't give you warnings about all the ways that it like increases likelihood of cancer and can cause heart disease and all these other things that can go terribly wrong if you take hormones too early. Like, all of that wasn't on the plate for me. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got to this point and just share my reality and my truth and what I experienced today, and some of the dots that I'm connecting in my own lived experience to something that I felt like was missing, which is always the cultural context of what this means for Black women in particular, situated inside this society. So because of the research and statistics, of course, there is disparity in treatment and acknowledgement of and also the experiences, the severity of the symptoms that Black women experience and the length of time that Black women experience symptoms from these stages of menopause in our lives, and how that impacts our overall longevity and quality of life. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm also going to talk about this really good book that I just finished reading that has me kind of like mind blown. So a really long introduction and a way to jump into the episode. As always, you can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Coach Ebony Said. Follow me on Instagram or Threads at Coach Ebony Said. TikTok, I don't know what y'all are doing over there. If they sell you to Jeff Bezos, I'm never coming back. But at Coach Ebony Said everywhere. And always, you can find me on my website at ebonyisisbooth.com. So that's today's show. And how do we get here? Like, I'm going to kind of like bouncy ball myself to like how I arrived here. So it's April. Spring has sprung. The weather is changing. The allergies are allergying. I experienced my first season of pollinating in Charlotte, where everything's covered with sticky yellow tree sperms, slime dust, powder everywhere. That was really wild. Survived that. We got some rain. It chilled out. And now I don't know what's happening outside with the weather. I will say this, that 65 degrees in April is not the same 65 degrees of October, November, even December. There were plenty of warm days this winter in Charlotte, 65 plus, that were balmy and wonderful. This 65-degree weather this week, it's got some chill in the air that'll hurt you to your bone if you ain't careful. So you got to layer up with jackets and things. So I want to put my toes out. I want to go ahead and shear down the legs and, go through the removal process of the winter layer of coat. But I it's cold outside. So that's the first thing. As a result of that, what I have been noticing is I've been having a really hard time regulating my body temperature. In any given day of outings in my car, I have left the house with a jacket, had to take the jacket off, had to put the seat warmer on, turn the seat warmer off, put on the air conditioner, turned on the heat, roll down the windows, crack the windows, open the sunroof, close the sunroof. Can't figure it out. AC to heat in the house. Like, do I turn on the heat? No, I'm not going to turn on the heat. I'm just going to suffer it to be so that this is what the temperature is. Because if I open the window, then the pollen comes in, right? So now I'm out here with the ceiling fan to keep me from suffocating at night from these damn hot flashes, which is how we arrived here at the perimenopause conversation. So it's just been like a wild time, right? Also going to the gym in the morning, working out, getting super sweaty, leaving the gym, and it's like, oh God, I feel like I walked into an oven, it's stuffy, but nope, I'm freezing by the time I get to the car. Like, I can't. It's so much, so much. So all of that has been happening, which, whatever. How's the weather where you are? But what was happening is, like, at the same time that the seasons are changing, I am changing. I'm moving into more body consciousness as far as exercise and paying attention to what I'm putting into my body, how I'm hydrating, noticing my sleep patterns, really chasing the protein monster, trying to make sure that I'm getting enough protein, which feels like a full-time fucking job. Like, all I do is eat or think about what I'm going to eat and think about what I can't eat or should not eat. Is a lot, right? So this consciousness is also calling me inside myself. It's calling me to a different level of awareness and noticing the amount of attention I pay to myself in order to take care of myself from a place of love instead of criticism, judgment, and ridicule. So instead of being like, you need to lose 20 pounds, don't eat that, it's kind of like, I'm hungry. I need to eat something. What sounds good that is not going to make me feel sick later? What sounds good that's going to fuel me so that tomorrow morning I have a solid workout and do not feel like I'm dragging ass for the next 72 hours? Like, it's really been a shift in mindset in the way that I talk to myself about myself. That is shifting a belief, the way that I believe, um, and 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 as such really informs how I'm able to show up from a place of service in community, um, in really just the care and keeping of myself, because this is the only skin suit I'm gonna get actually this time around on the planet. And I would like to get another, you know, 40, 50 years out of this one. Yeah. So that on top of all of the things that are happening in the world, right? But this attention to myself has caused me to really get connected to the way that perimenopause threatens to steal my joy on a regular basis. A dear friend of mine, EJ, sent me a message the other day and asked me a really great question. Did you have a thing when you were healing when you realized how much pain you had normalized in your whole body, and then have like a wee full moon in Libra departure from accepted reality, like ever? Now, here's I don't know if I'm departing from reality. I think I'm having to like reach out in order to pull back in, right? So I'm having to like, you know, it's like giving the star card in tarot, right? Where I'm having to like tether between heaven and earth so that I can reach and acquire something to bring it to pull it back down for me. But my answer is that I really realized how much pain I had normalized in my body after I had my hysterectomy. I had an abdominal hysterectomy, almost total, and with a cesarean cut and a cesarean incision. For the first year after surgery, it was really just me realizing how much brain space had been spent all the days of my life for 30 years prior managing and paying attention to my cycle, my menstrual cycle. When I was in my luteal phase, when I was ovulating, if I was fertile, if I was cranky, if I was PMSing, if I was having a breakout, if I was cramping, if I was bleeding, if I was clotting, if it was like constantly what I was going to wear, what I would buy, when I was going to change my sheets, what color sheets, like literally so much energy was into making accommodations to prepare to manage pain that I was holding in my body. It was a lot of energy. And that was also tied to an identity that was associated with motherhood, which was more a threat of pain for me, to me. The absence of motherhood and not being a parent, also this reminder in the social realm of not being partnered, right? So you're single. Oh, you're single. You don't have any kids. What's wrong with you? And it's like, I'm just out here with this uterus that tries to take my life every month. I'm fighting for my life, fighting for my life. Like, no, I don't have children, but I tell you something about these clots. I could name them and have a small army of, you know, whatever. That might be a little bit gory, but it's real shit. You know what I mean? So like I normalized that pain. So for the first year after the hysterectomy, I think I was just kind of like hitting a reset button and I was gaining weight. I was in my yaoraje, so I wasn't as active. I had been nursing an injury to my knee and finding out that I had like arthritis behind my kneecap and was like, what? Arthritis? Like, what is happening? Not necessarily RA, but like definitely inflamed bone behind my patella. So had all that stuff happening and still wasn't really moving my body very much. I wasn't very particularly active. When I tried to get active, I literally remember one day laying down. I was doing an at-home workout and I laid down and I was getting ready to do crunches. And so I'm in the position to do the crunches and in my brain, I went up to do the crunch, but my body didn't move. But my brain was like, why aren't we sitting up? And it was because there were the nerves in my abdomen had been severed and were like, she don't go here no more. So just the work of getting back in my body and then moving in and living in my body without pain has been another year-long process. And it met me smack dab right up against the symptoms of perimenopause. So I got off one ride and hopped right on the next one. Like, did not see that coming. It felt like I got hit by a bus because I had gained 28 pounds. I was symptomatic AF. My doctor was like, well, that's the ball game. Like the best thing that you can do is exercise and watch what you eat and, see you in 10 years when that ovary decides to stop producing estrogen. And then we can talk about hormone replacement therapy. Thank you so much. That was the spiel that I got. So it has taken me until just recently, I'm about 6 weeks into really having changed my mind and gotten to a place where mentally, physically, spiritually, I have made this commitment to my physical health and activity. And I joined Orange Theory. Say what you will about it. I am the target demographic for group exercise as an elder millennial, and it works. I definitely, all 30 of those women from all different walks of life and ages, not one of them was in that room this morning because they do not see a benefit from Orange Theory. And so I was able to hear a lot of them talk about their experiences and what works for them and what they've been through in a way that made me feel like, yeah, this is probably what I need to do because I got to move my body. And is one of the ways, while there is no cure for menopause, it's a very natural process, but one of the ways to manage the symptoms is through cardiovascular health and muscle and bone health. So, yeah, that's how I got here, right? Menopausing. So, like, if it wasn't enough, right? If it wasn't enough that as Black women, we are out here navigating a crumbling democracy, late stage capitalism, climate catastrophes, the carceral state, parenting children, reparenting ourselves, and parenting our parents who don't listen, because all their heads is hard. Racial disparities, racialized violence, medical racism, inflation, whatever, the job market, red pill bros, all of the things. Please, just if there's something that I missed, just call it out, yell it out at the screen, okay? All of that, we are doing that while like 40 to 50 million of us are also experiencing some stage of menopause. And what are the symptoms? There are over 100 different symptoms that are associated with menopause. Okay. And just for the record, again, I'm not a medical professional, but this is what menopause is. There's perimenopause is when you start to release fewer eggs. You become you make less estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Your hormone production starts to decline. You have shorter or more irregular menstrual cycles. When you are in menopause, that means that you have for 12 months had no bleeding at all. Now, if you go 11 months with no period and in month 12 you get a period, you got to start over. You're back to perimenopause. It's like, do not collect $200. Go back to start. Okay. But postmenopause isn't really postmenopause until you've had 3 years with no bleeding, no breakthrough bleeding. Okay. No menstruation. So this is related to our menstrual cycles and which is related to everything. Okay. So the reason that I'm having this like cultural context, cognitive dissonance took place this morning in that class is because I'm also like, but wait a minute, what does this mean for reproductive justice and reproductive health care and its availability for Black women? And the fact that it is April, which is Minority Health Month, National Minority Health Month, it is also Black Maternal Health Week from April 11th to the 17th. And Black maternal health is not only specific to Black maternal mortality rates being 3 times what they are to our white and Asian counterparts, but it is also an extension of reproductive justice as it relates to advocacy, policy change, healthy collaborations, equitable access to resources, education, and quality of care received from the medical institutions to Black people, but Black women, especially Black birthing women or birthing bodies, because we reproduce the humans, make the humans. And what's happening is Black women are dying at an alarming rate during pregnancy, which presents a risk to the birthing parent as well as the infant that is born in these healthcare institutions that they don't really give a damn about us. So it's a whole thing. It goes from birth until death. And one of the things that I heard today that was really like, "Huh, of course," was that menopause is puberty in reverse. So when we think of the circle of life, like it's literally this life cycle of our fertility, but also the beauty of a body to be able to produce the hormones that it needs in order to reproduce, right? Like it's reproductive health care. And also because of the violence of institutional racism and systemic and institutional racism that negatively impacts to a severe extent Black women, Black birthing bodies, Black people, Black culture, Black and brown folks, anyway, I feel like I'm beating all kinds of horses to death, but that's what I'm trying to say is there was some disparity in the way that the conversation was being held today. Cause I'm like, if it's this bad for all these old white women in this room, these elders, these crones and matriarchs in this space who believe themselves to be white, then I know it would behoove me to think that it would be at least 3 times as worse for Black women and South Asian women and Latinx women and even Asian women. So women of color, this is a global issue. It's not something that just happens in the United States. It's anywhere that there are, women. So anyway, what are some of these damn symptoms? Lord have mercy. The symptoms. I'm going to just read the list from today and we'll talk about how they've been burning my grits and chapping my hide. And again, yell them out, call them out, just name them. Just take some of the weight off. Maybe just wave your hand if you hear something that resonates with you. We can have us our own little kiki in the corner, an amen session about what it is that we're navigating as the world turns and burns. The hot flashes, the hot flashes, hot flashes feel like, it's like that clip from Clue where it's like, flames burning hot, like something on the inside of your skull heats up. It's like heat that comes from the inside and then like gets trapped underneath your skin, like in between the muscle and fascia. It's like that's where the burn is, and then it just like tingles and like singes outward, right? And it's like a internal furnace of heat that just kind of takes over you, and then your body like immediately sweats, and so you get covered in like this sheen of dampness to like cool you off. It's a wild time, but it doesn't happen fast enough. Like before you get cool, you you got to burn first. In addition to that, sometimes there's this fun thing that happens called a night sweat. And the night sweat is, I believe, perhaps a trick of a hot flash while you're sleeping, but you don't necessarily get hot. You just sweat and wake up in a puddle. So for some reason, like the amount of sweat that you produce in the night sweat is like 6 to 8 times as much sweat as you produce in a hot flash. Well, as much as I produce in a hot flash during my waking hours. I don't know what that is, but the night sweats also, then you get cold after you get wet. So it's like you might sweat through your pajamas or through the sheets or down to the mattress and have to get up out of the bed, freezing cold and sometimes dripping wet. Peel off whatever wet fabric is on you. Try to figure out how to dry off and warm up, and then remake the bed in such a way, whether or not I have used blankets, towels, pillows, and it usually, the crazy thing is, it happens at like fucking 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m. And now you're up because you have to wake up. It's going to wake you up and say it's like literally, it's the equivalent of like pee in the bed, but it's not pee. It's just ice cold sweat balls that you are just drenched in. Thank God I live by myself and don't have to share this particular experience with another human. So to all the husbands, the partners, the lovers, out there who are cohabitating and co-sleeping with a woman who is in perimenopause or menopause and dealing with night sweats and hot flashes, you are a blessing. Ooh, mood changes. Mood swings, like, whoa, anxiety. So the anxiety is wild because it's like, where the fuck did that come from? I wasn't anxious. I mean, like the anxiety is like a bully. It'll just like buck up on you out of nowhere and can be like really scary because the anxiety can also happen in the middle of the night, can like wake you up with just like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, or first it's just like, I don't know. It happens in social settings sometimes where it's kind of like, oh my God, I can't get out of the car. I don't want to talk to those people. I don't want to go in there. What's happening? The anxiety monster is wild. Perimenopause, depression, because I don't know if you've been listening for, I don't know, like the past 35 minutes, but I haven't really said anything that seems like endearing positivity or warm and fuzzy feels. So yeah, depression is a thing. Forgetfulness or brain fog. The brain fog. The brain fog. Y'all understand the brain fog if you listen to this podcast. The brain fog comes over me typically weekdays after 3 p.m. I am no good. Don't ask me to have the answer or to think or to write or to do anything after 3 p.m. on a weekday. I ain't got it. I don't. And sometimes when I sit in here in this office to record the podcast, to be honest with you, it's the end of the night and it's like I'm really pulling out. This is all the gas I got to get me through these 56 minutes. And I also have to take notes and have resources because if I'm left to my own devices, Lord help us, I don't know what you're going to get. The brain fog is very serious. Like sometimes my brain just like will stop and I need to buffer. Like walking in and out of rooms, what did I go in there for? Being out on an errand and then forgetting what the errand was. And so I'm just driving around like, did I do everything I said I was going to do today? I thought I needed toothpaste, but I didn't get the toothpaste. I just came back home. I guess I'll go get toothpaste tomorrow. Like, and then find, oh no, you bought toothpaste 2 days ago. Like, it's a wild time. It's a wild fucking time. Bone loss, osteoporosis was a word that was said in Metamucil commercials when I was a child. I did not know that that was my future. I was not aware. I didn't know. I didn't know. Sleep difficulties. Like, you guys, okay, I talked about how I feel about sleep tape and stuff like that, and like what all this, the night shedding and the things that the younger girls who are clearly not having hot flashes, because there's no fucking way that a perimenopausal woman is putting all that shit on her face and her head to lay down and go to sleep at night. There's no way that I know that you're 22 recording a nightshade video because you have all that shit on your face. That's a way that you are aging yourself, young woman, young lady, and I support you in that. But like the sleep tape and the this and the that and the wrapping of the head and the rollers and the masks and the layers and the gloves and all the shit that you put on to like I don't know what you're trying to mummify yourself. Let me tell you something. Perimenopause is coming for you. It doesn't matter how many fucking masks you put on your face. It's coming. Keep living, my love. It's coming. It's coming for us all. It's reverse puberty. You got to go through it. So sorry to break it to you. But anyway, sleep difficulties. If I'm not sleeping, I'm kind of cranky. I'm not functioning. I don't have the energy that I need. Our bodies have to turn off. I have to get sleep. I need a lot of sleep. I'm a projector in human design. I need more sleep than the average bear. I prefer a good 8 to 9 hour sleep cycle. And on the weekends, give me 10. But listen, this is a benefit that I get to experience because I live a child-free life. Okay. And that works for me. But when I do not get that because my sleep is interrupted and I'm awakened with a hot night sweat at 2 a.m., and then I can't get dried off and comfortable and back into bed and cozy until 3 a.m., and then I'm sitting there staring at the ceiling, wondering what I forgot to do until 4 a.m., and then my alarm goes off at 7, nobody's having a good day. Sleep difficulties is some bullshit. Ringing in the ears. Why? Does it happen to me? Yes. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was fluorescent lights. I was in the Nike outlet one day and I like bent down to do something and like stood back up and my ears started ringing and like I got like I don't know, like a dark spot. I thought I was having a fucking stroke in the Nike store. I was like standing there like, am I okay? Am I dying? Like, do I tell somebody, is this a medical emergency that I'm having right now? Or is it just perimenopause? Who knows, right? Can't prove it. Cold flashes. Let me tell you about the cold flashes. So the cold flashes are a wild thing because like you really try to get on top of it with your sleep habits, right? I try to work out a routine with my sleep habits so that I can like control the temperature in my house and all this. Look at the privilege, right? But I control the temperature in the house. You know, I have a very specific situation of like how my bed is dressed and, you know, what breathable fibers and cotton this and the sheet thread count and the feather bed and all that stuff and what fabrics and materials I sleep in, if the window is open, the fan is on low, and then I get under the covers and all that stuff. But sometimes I get in the bed and I'm getting freezing. And so what I want to do is to get under some more blankets and put on some fuzzy socks and put on a robe and cozy pajamas. But you can't do that because if you do that, you're going to die. You're going to burn. You're going to burn in just a couple hours. As soon as you fall asleep, you're not really going to get that warm, but you're going to fall asleep. You'll pass out, right? Because you're all cozy. And then you're going to wake up on fire and have to strip naked and throw things all over the place. And then everything is wet. And you just have to suffer it to be so. And fight through the cold flash the same way you have to fight through the hot flashes. Fucking nuts. I tell you, this week, seat warmer, no seat warmer, windows rolled down, windows rolled up, sunroof cracked, sunroof open, close the sunroof, close the, oh my God, put down the sun is so hot, turn on the AC, turn on the heat, turn down the heat, turn up the AC. It's crazy. Joint pain. I don't know why my elbow hurts, but my elbow hurts. My elbow hurts sometimes. It just decides to hurt. My fingers, joints, sore. Why? 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 Perimenopause, apparently. Palpitations. Remember how I told you I thought I was dying in the Nike store? Palpitations. Also, a thing that is not on here, but gas pains that make you feel like you're having like a gas bubble that gets trapped inside your body in a, oh my God, it's violent. It's violent. I'm not talking about gas like, oh, I got to fart. I'm talking about air inside your lumbar region that is like trapped underneath a major organ or your rib cage. And like, I'm pretty sure that there is a belch that lives in between my heart and my sternum. And every time it gets stuck there, I feel like I'm having a coronary event. Like, it's fucking nuts. I'm still going. Hair loss. So I locked my hair partially because I wasn't sure what was happening with the texture of my hair. The curl pattern, the texture of it just changed. So I, for years, have had love afro, like a sturdy, strong afro. And then this part of my afro said, we would like to be straight now. We would like to just lay down and relax and not stand up no more. I have not noticed thinning yet, but I'm new here. So y'all continue to pray my strength. Weight gain. I told y'all about the 28 pounds that did not want to come off. And I don't think, here's the thing, I don't think I need to weigh the same amount. I'm not stuck on the scale like that. I don't think I need to weigh the same amount that I weighed in high school. That would be weird. Like, again, I'm a grown ass woman, so my body is going to change. I will get heavier. My muscle density and my bone density and the way that my weight is fat is distributed on my body is just going to change naturally because, shout out to Laura Days, who was like, you wouldn't expect to have the same body you had when you were 9 years old, but why do you expect to have the same body you had when you were 19? Like, that's weird. It would be strange. So, but what that 28 pounds was doing to my joints and my mood and my energy level and also my self-image because of like what clothes I could wear and trying to figure out how to dress the new body and thinking about how all of this is tied to ageism and sexism and like desirability politics and all that shit. I was like, ill, ill, ill. It was a lot of paperwork. So then there was the weight loss resistance, which, you're not in perimenopause just dropping 10 pounds in 2 weeks so you can go do some hot girl shit. Not healthily. And I thought it was strange that my primary care physician, when I went to her before I saw my OB and was like, yeah, so there's this 20 pounds that's like new here. And I'm like, what's up? She's like, oh, I can give you something for that. I was like, what do you mean? Now she was talking about the semaglutides. She was like, Wegovy will do it. And I was like, no, thank you. I think not. I need to be able to eat my food and enjoy it. And I don't mind feeling hunger. So no, thank you. That's not for me. But the resistance to weight loss is also a thing because your hormones are like all over the place while you're in this period. There's this thing called frozen shoulder that I swear to God, I thought they were lying. I thought they were lying. Your shoulder just decides to not want to. Why? What? What do you mean? Like, my mom has frozen shoulder. And I was like, Ma, did you know that that's a symptom of menopause? And she was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah. And sometimes on any given day, like my joints, my hips, they're like, you can't just jump out the bed and go dashing down the stairs and run and get on no treadmill around here. You have to ask us permission. You got to warm this thing up first. Like, the joints need to be lubricated and stretched and tended to and warmed up and iced down when they're inflamed and warmed up when they're tired. That has to happen. Ringing in the ears, I already said that. We talked about that. Headaches and migraines. For me personally, if I have headaches or migraines, it's because I haven't had enough water to drink. That's usually, it's just I'm dehydrated if I have a headache. And so staying hydrated is about as much work as making sure I'm eating enough protein every day. And I'm doing my best, y'all. This is a lot. This is a lot. Vertigo. I think that may have been the incident in the Nike store was the vertigo. Cause when I stood back up, I was like, it felt strange. I had to like sit down and like wait and gather myself until I was like clear and focused again before I could move around. It was very scary. But I think that that was kind of the episode that I was experiencing. And apparently that too is a side effect. Fucking menopause. Itchy ears. Itchy ears. I thought I was crazy. My ears itch all the time. All the time. Apparently you can put estrogen or like estrogen lotion inside your ears and it helps with the itching. But another thing that I learned today is that we have estrogen receptors all over our entire bodies. So the topical estrogen creams don't really, they only work on the site where you apply them. And my ears are not the only place that I itch. I have itchy burning skin. And another place that I get it is like my neck and chest area. Like I just want to like, grr, 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 grr. It's like this area gets really itchy and inflamed for no reason. Sometimes my skin feels like it's burning. And I am a exfoliated, moisturized baby girl, okay? Soft and smooth, buttery, and still have this itchy burning sensation randomly on my skin. Sometimes at my tattoo sites, but for the most part, it's just random. And I think the most common place for it is here, like around my décolletage and my neck. It's bizarre. Like, is there something there? And there's nothing there. It just feels like it's on fire, and that's wild. I'm gonna say another one. I'm gonna tell this. I want to hold your hand. Come here, young lady. You. I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this. I want you to honor, cherish, and enjoy the wetness of your vagina for as long as you can, because your days are numbered. It don't stay like that forever. Okay? I just, vaginal dryness, while it is not, I guess it varies, right? It's as personal, as unique as we are. But as for me and my house, there's a viscosity as it relates to your vaginal lubrication, the wetness of your vagine. The younger you are, that as you get older, the viscosity of your vaginal fluid changes and it gets thinner. And so if you imagine like going from like, I don't know, snail mucin to toner, right? And then thinking of like something that would evaporate. Like that's a spectrum of your coochie juice. And there's nothing wrong with you per se. That is just a thing that happens, which is why lube is important and necessary and a natural part of life and all those things. But I'm just saying, like, if I knew then what I know now, I would have just made some different choices with who I shared the gushy with. Cause I mean, my God, okay? Anyway, vaginal dryness is a thing. And I think that that might also add to depression because, like, what the fuck? And all this is related to hormones, right? So it's the estrogen, the cortisol, the testosterone, the progesterone, all of those things fluctuating and being interdependent on one another. And then all of the different vitamins and minerals that allow our bodies to regulate to support them, and then sleeping and then hydrating and then getting enough to eat and then making sure our bodies know that, you know, we're responding to our stress cycle in a way that, that creates a, a nourished and whole nervous system that is regulated so that we are not releasing and producing extra stress hormones because we feel like we are always in fight or flight. Now, I realize that all of the things that I have just shared make me want to fight all the fucking time, right? So that means that I have to be extra, extra sweet, extra calm, extra kind, extra caring with myself to treat myself well and to take time to just be in my body. and observe and witness what's going on so that I can appreciate the times where I am in a regulated state, when I do feel good in my body, when I am glowy and confident, and when my estrogen levels are high, and when I did eat healthy and so I feel good. Because when you do eat healthy and work out and drink water, you feel better. Like, the thing that I really want to say is that the solutions or the treatments to manage all of these atrocious symptoms that I've named, plus the hundreds more that I didn't, is focusing on your muscle and bone health. So, working out, getting your calcium and vitamin D, right? Lifting heavy, to be another phrase that was coined today. I can't think of the doctor's name. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. I can't think of her name, but to be strong, not skinny, because skinny has never really been a thing, a word that Black women have been out here like signing, ascribing ourselves to culturally or otherwise. But like, we want to be strong in our bodies. So muscles are important, right? And our health of being able to lift heavy as opposed to trying to like burn and lose and trim. Now, we understand we like to be thick, right? Like, we can hold our weight, it's distributed in a certain way on our body. And we also understand that the BMI and all of that shit is racist and anti-Black. Actually, it's flat out anti-Black, but like, so it's not for us and how we manage that. So when you're thinking about how you want to be in relationship to your muscle and your weight, like, that brings up a whole nother thing around like health and access to healthcare and food and reproductive justice and like, food deserts and what we have access and resource to and what our cultural habits are of these things. But the statistics, so additionally, cardiovascular health is another way to manage that. So like cardio for the purpose of trimming down and like running a mile or running a marathon isn't the case. Not saying that you should go and like burn yourself out on a treadmill every day, but like walking, like, and getting fresh air and being outside, and doing activities where you are, monitoring making sure that your endurance and your breath control is manageable or functional to a point where you can, take the stairs or you can take a loop around the park. In addition to the fact that that helps with our mental health. It helps with our mental health. The breathing helps us regulate our nervous system by stimulating the vagus nerve and allowing us to access calm so that we can start to allow our systems to know that we are not, in fact, being chased by a lion, that we are safe and that we have what we need. If you are safe and you have what you need, acknowledging that that is your reality is a natural way that you can start to bring down your stress. And going for a walk to reflect on that fact is a way that you can access that level of calm to bring yourself to a state of regulation. Um, One of the things that came up, I read this article in the New York Times about how menopause affects women of color. And there was a study of women's health across the nation that followed 3,000 Black women for 10 or more years and found that Black and Latinx women reach menopause earlier than white and Asian women and are symptomatic for sometimes twice as long as white and Asian women. And the issue with that is a, a 2021 study found that women with frequent or persistent hot flashes who were not using hormonal treatment had an elevated risk of cardiovascular disease, including strokes and heart failure. That related to women with fewer or no hot flashes. Having more hot flashes, particularly at night, is also associated with a decrease in cognitive abilities. So, when we think about environmental justice, living in food deserts, access to food, medical, racism, all of the things that are tied to reproductive justice and Black women's health in general, it's like, not only do we go into menopause earlier, we experience the symptoms for twice as long. Those symptoms have a direct impact on our heart health, and we're already predisposed to have higher mortality rates. Cardiovascular heart disease kills Black women at the next highest rate to maternal health, right? Maternal mortality and cancer. So all of this continues to plead the case for reproductive justice and reproductive healthcare access for Black women in particular, but it's all connected at every stage of our existence. Like from the time we are born until we leave this place, there is a fix in or an attack in place to reduce our longevity and threaten our livelihood, right? So heart health, cardiovascular health, and stress management. Again, I named all the things that stress me the fuck out on a global scale, in addition to the fact that we're dealing with these menopausal symptoms. So the importance of taking me all the way back to the beginning of being like, healing is possible, magic is real, love is the answer. How can I get to a place of regulation in myself, inside myself, so I have strategies and practices so that I am loving myself enough to have a sanctuary, to be a sanctuary to myself, so that I have a safe place that I can go to discharge stress, to close the stress cycle of burnout, to turn down, to establish rituals and practices, and to make the care and keeping of myself a ceremony and ritual practice that is not so that I can manifest a man or go get the bag, but literally so that I can curate my longevity, to take care of myself, to keep myself on the planet. So when I'm talking to you about self-care, that's the course, that's the name of the course. It's bigger than bath bombs. This is the political warfare that we're talking about. When Audre Lorde said that self-preservation is an act of political war, is not self-indulgence, but an act of political warfare, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Audre Lorde, who beat breast cancer or battled breast cancer, had a mastectomy, went through menopause, experienced the change, like was also managing this in a Black queer woman's body. Like, come on, it's bigger than buying yourself a little sweet treat. And sweet treats are nice, but thinking about it, so like after this class today, I ended up talking to two Black women, got their take on the workouts, the gym, how that's been helping them in their different varying stages of where they are in their journey with menopause, and having been members of the gym for longer than I have. And one of them made a really good point. And she's like, it hits us differently. We have other things to consider. So even with this, like, another layer of stress with this, literally the hair loss and hair system management and working out intensely and lifting heavy and exercising and raising children and having kids and having jobs and running businesses and being partnered. Like, there's all these other levels on levels of stress that are added in there, plus the weight of what it means to be Black and woman in this country at this particular time. So when I say that we are fucking superheroes, like, I know that we don't want to, maybe we're not superheroes because we are humans and this shit is hard. We're not superheroes. I take that back, because we are humans and this shit is hard. But holy shit, are we super powerful and capable, and have been since been. And so now that we know more about it and we're equipped with more information, I think it benefits us greatly. I think it was a healing thing to me, and hopefully one that I can share with you if you're listening and found any resonance in what I'm saying today, to have more conversations and to be more vocal about this in community, as opposed to waiting for some kind of like word from the mountaintop from Oprah to tell us how she's managed her menopause with, like, I'm like, we don't have Oprah money. And I also ain't got time to be waiting for Oprah to tell me what I'm supposed to do with what's happening with these hot flashes in my bedroom tonight. Right? So that's something to consider. Like, where can we find pockets in community where we are in community with other Black women, where we can have conversations about the impacts of perimenopause and menopause, how it's affecting us, what we're doing to address it, how are we taking care of ourselves, what are we doing to reduce our stress load and to interrupt the stress cycle so that we're not drowning our nervous system in cortisol constantly, so that we can have good juice like endorphins and dopamine from exercise, so that we can build our endurance, so that we're not winded, playing with the babies or walking around the park Or if we are, we continue playing with the babies and walking around the park till we get to a place where we can do more of that and it starts to generate and bring more of our joy and celebration. So continue with the line dances, continue with the celebration, continue to drink your water, right? To stay hydrated. There are just some things that we can do. And I got to tell you, that liquor, alcohol is mild poison. And whether or not you are in menopause, alcohol, wine is alcohol. Alcohol is not helping. Any of the things that I just mentioned, drinks are not helping. I worked for a beverage distribution company. I was a sommelier. I worked in food and beverage for 10 years. I understand hardcore the social conditioning of alcohol as the way of life. You go meet for drinks, you have drinks. What kind of drink? What do you drink? I drink this. I need a drink. Have another drink. Give me a double. I'm gonna get a drink, but we can't wait to go get drinks with you. Like, I get it. But guys, it's so bad for us. It's so bad for us. I would go so far to say it's worse for us than the tobacco industry, the liquor, the alcohol industry. Like it's worse. It's worse. It's so bad. It's so bad for us. And it makes everything that I just described even worse. So if you are drinking, I have been sober for almost a year and a half, almost 2 years, actually. Almost 2 years. Yeah. Wow. I've been sober for almost 2 years. And I kid you not, if these symptoms that I'm experiencing now would be worse. They were worse when I was drinking before. Like the booze didn't help. And so that's another thing. The high fructose corn syrup doesn't help. Processed sugar doesn't help. Not to say that you got to cut it off and go cold turkey, but like make other choices where you can. Look at which ways that you can pivot. Talk to a nutritionist. There's plenty of information on the web that will get you into like diet culture and all of that. And I'm not saying that that's the solution. This shouldn't cost you a bunch of fucking money to try to like, just make some small changes, but the liquor might save you some. It'll save you quite a bit if you cut back on what you can cut back on. So fast food and alcohol, game changer to cut those out if you are experiencing these symptoms. And also, if that stresses you out, because that means now you have to cook more, you have more people to feed. You don't like, I'm not trying to put no pressure on nobody or give you no advice. I'm just saying, as for me in my house and my single serving lifestyle, it has made a huge difference for me, both financially, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, to make a pivot and move away from liquor and fast food where possible. But also, like, I went and had tacos today and like didn't cook. So whatever. Live your life, boo. But I love you for real. I wanna pivot. You see I'm pivoting in my seat because I just finished reading this book. When I went and got tacos today, I finished the last couple of chapters of this book right here, this book right here, this book right here. Sky Full of Elephants by Sibo Campbell. It is a novel that explores what blackness means without white people. And it's I guess it's fantasy, near fantasy, I would like to think. There were so many times where I would be reading this book before bed, because that's also part of my night routine, is to like read to turn my brain off, and also to not sleep with my cell phone in my bedroom so that the blue light isn't distracting me, because I spend my whole day in front of a screen with ring lights and this, that, and the other on. So like really unplugging from the devices and getting a good book and reading a few chapters before you go to bed is a great way to add more ritual to your routine of nighttime and preparing for good sleep when you can. But this book, there were so many times where I would be reading it before bed and just be like, wow, like what would happen if I woke up tomorrow morning? Um, yeah, and some cataclysmic event had occurred and all the white people in America had walked into the nearest body of water and ceased to exist. That is what happens in this book. And it follows a man named Charlie Brunton as he reconnects with a daughter his daughter whom he'd been estranged from for her whole life due to some bullshit, and their journey to the South, to the source of the event, and a reckoning of sorts, a reckoning with the enormity of Blackness, the enormity of Blackness, and how it seems like a heavy sky full of elephants. It's such a fucking beautiful book. It's such a beautiful book. I highly recommend that you read it. It touched me in my heart, and I sat there in that restaurant today and I read it, and the young man at the taco spot came to drop off my food, and he was like, "What's that book about?" Young brother, and I told him, and he was like, Okay, interesting. Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, you should read it. You should I think you should read it." I don't get to read a lot of fiction. I don't choose to read a lot of fiction. For whatever reason, I've been on a kick since undergrad of like starting fiction and not finishing, or maybe like reading one or two fiction books a year. But in this season of my life, I am looking for ways to escape into the more creative corners of my mind, and reading beautiful, brilliant novels has been a wonderful way to do that. So, yeah. Sky Full of Elephants, boy, that that one did it to me. So you should totally check that out. Thank you for listening to me sit here and rant. I'm having a hot flash right now. Oh, you see that? I'm I don't know if you and it's here's the anxiety and the hot flashes, like, because when you have a hot flash, it comes on you and you don't necessarily want to announce it because you feel it and you're just kind of like going through it because there's nothing you can do about it. So you just have to surrender to the flash. But then you're like, do these people know that I'm sweating? Can they see that I'm on fire right now? If I say this, would it be weird? Should I not? I'm not going to say anything about the hot flash. I'm just going to go through it. And then you're like, how much longer is this going to take? And then you're just kind of flushed, and sometimes there's like the sweat will like bead up on your forehead, or you just get like really, really shiny, like hella greasy. And it's because the inside of your body just got hot. And that happens. And there's nothing you can do about it, apparently. How long does this last? Is one thing I didn't answer. How long does this last? This can last anywhere from 7 to 10 years is how long you can be in perimenopause before you go into menopause. Now, because I no longer have a uterus, I am perimenopausal because I don't have a uterus, I don't have a menstrual cycle, but I also only have one ovary producing um an egg. So that's like less all the hormones are half as many as there were before. So that naturally puts me into perimenopause. My doctor told me I could be sitting in park for anywhere from 8 to 10 years here before even being able to have a conversation about checking when that ovary decides to give up the ghost. And then we would be in full blown menopause. So until then, I'm just drinking water and getting on this treadmill down to the Orange Theory and picking these weights up and putting them back down again. And really making sure I eat enough protein, or trying to do that. I'm looking at creatine gummies for the brain fog and the muscle building. We'll see. I'm going to try to lift a little bit heavier because I like it. I like the way it makes me feel. And I do think that it helps with my joint pain. But man, so thank you for being here while I yammer on and on and on about menopause, but mostly through the lens of like Black ladies, Black women, Black people. Let's talk about it. Let's have conversations, like candid, honest conversations about what is happening with perimenopause. How are you getting through it? These are some of the ways that I'm getting through it. I want to know how you are getting through it. What does it look like for you on a day to day? Like, there's no, you know how I do. Like, it's not I'm buffering. There's no stylized way, I think, to have this conversation. Like, this is not something that fits in a reel, or maybe it would fit in several reels. I don't know. But it is a pretty significant chunk of human development that is historically under-researched and underdeveloped that impacts us all. And as with most when there's an under-researched, underdeveloped field, especially as it relates to medicine, Black women historically are typically the ones who are most negatively impacted. And what we know is, as the site and source of gynecology in the first place, Black women's, the end of reproductive the conclusion of the reproductive or fertility window for Black women also has a particular gravity and weight related to it inside this white supremacist capitalist society, and the historic relationship of Black women's body to gynecology and the way that our reproductive systems or reproductive organs or bodies were used to reproduce in more enslaved people that were used for fodder of capitalism as opposed to living full human experiences. So when we are experiencing the late stages of our reverse puberty to go through menopause, no wonder medicine doesn't give a fuck about us, because we're no longer valuable in the eyes of dominant cultural society and white supremacist ideology, right? So we become even less valuable. So the race, class, sex breakdown is another way that we just get like crammed into that margin. In addition to the fact that white women are also, undertreated, but treated better than we are in the context of menopause. So, man, I'll see you back here next week. You can send an email to hello@ebonyisisbooth.com and let me know what you're thinking about this week's episode. If you want to ask me a question, you can ask Auntie. Just send an email to hello@ebonyisisbooth.com with the subject line Ask Auntie, and I will read it on the show with your permission, or maybe it's just something that you want to let me know. Holla at your girl. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful and amazing week. Be light and shine. Okay, I love you. Bye.